Today, we're dissecting the anatomy of escalation, a strategic synthesis of a hypothetical, yet plausible, war between the US, Israel, and Iran. We'll explore how tactical dominance can often mask a strategic failure, and why the psychology of war is just as important as the weapons used to fight it. It began on June 21, 2025, Operation Midnight Hammer. This was the largest B-2 mission since 2001, involving over 125 aircraft. The mission targeted Iran's most hardened nuclear sites at Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan, utilizing 30,000-pound massive ordnance penetrators. According to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the stealth was so effective that Iranian radar never even saw them coming. On the surface, it was a tactical triumph. Leadership claimed the total obliteration of nuclear capabilities, but a leaked DIA assessment told a different story: the strategic illusion. While above-ground infrastructure was leveled, core nuclear components had been preemptively moved. The result? A program paused by months, not eradicated for years. Escalation reached a tipping point on February 28, 2026, with the Decapitation Trigger. A coordinated strike killed Iran's supreme leader and senior commanders. Washington hoped for a regime collapse. Instead, they met a new reality. Pre-planned succession hierarchies were instantly activated. For Tehran, the conflict was no longer a regional dispute. It was an existential battle where survival equaled victory. This led to horizontal escalation. Unable to match the US in a direct fight, Iran multiplied the arenas of risk. They dragged the global economy and neighboring publics into the crossfire, launching strikes near US bases in Bahrain and Qatar, and targeting residential areas in the UAE and Saudi Arabia. By threatening the Strait of Hormuz, they aimed to break the enemy's will by raising the global cost of war. History shows us this pattern. In 1968, the US had overwhelming air power in Vietnam, yet the Tet Offensive shifted the political trajectory. In 1999, NATO strikes on Belgrade triggered a refugee crisis that strained the entire alliance. In 2026, Iran's asymmetric response forces Washington to choose: enter a protracted regional war or face a humiliating political retreat. This conflict exposed a rift in US alliances, the arms hierarchy. Israel operates under structural defense, with F-35s and a statutory guarantee of a military edge. In contrast, the Gulf states have a transactional relationship. They buy billions in hardware, but lack the layered integration needed to defend against saturation swarm tactics, leaving them vulnerable when the missiles start flying. The economic toll was staggering. Shipping through the Strait of Hormuz dropped by 75%, and the UAE alone faced over 1,400 attacks. Desperate for a solution, Gulf leaders actually turned to Kiev, seeking Ukraine's battle-tested expertise in drone warfare and electronic interception to fill the gaps left by expensive, but overwhelmed, US Patriot systems. To understand why these wars spiral, we must look at the psychological core. Standard strategy assumes rational actors, but grave offenses, like hostage-taking, trigger an emotional overdrive that bypasses logic. Emotions act as cognitive switches, completely rewriting a nation's strategic hierarchy in favor of immediate action over long-term goals. There are two primary circuits at play here: anger and contempt. Anger drives the need for punishment, risk acceptance increases, and the goal of rescuing hostages is often downgraded in favor of total victory. Contempt creates an empathy void, where the threshold for collateral damage is erased because the enemy and their civilians are viewed as inherently inferior. We see this emotional architecture in historical parallels like the Attica prison riot and the conflict in Gaza. In both cases, an extreme power differential exists where a dominant force controls all movement and resources. When the powerless group shatters that order through a sudden shock, like hostage-taking, the state often accepts the death of its own people just to re-establish absolute dominance. The data reveals a stark gap between stated goals and reality. While leaders might claim to prioritize hostage rescue, the reality is often total punishment. Between November 2023 and January 2025, 0 hostages were returned via negotiation because the military focus remained on relentless bombing and the killing of leadership, even after regional hegemony was achieved. The battlefield is a mess of competing interests. The US wants to avoid a forever war to focus on Asia. Israel sees a window to permanently alter the balance of power. The Gulf states are desperate for de-escalation to protect their economies. Meanwhile, Iran is hunkering down for a war of attrition, aiming to fracture the very alliances the US relies on. The ripples are felt globally. Beijing finds itself in a bind, unable to counterbalance the US despite its oil needs. Moscow is the beneficiary, cashing in on oil spikes and the distraction of Western resources. Kiev feels a grim schadenfreude, happy to see Iranian drone factories destroyed, but terrified that vital U.S. air defense interceptors are being diverted away from their own front lines. Ultimately, we are left with the illusion of escalation dominance. Overwhelming firepower cannot solve deep-rooted political conflicts. Symmetry allows the weaker side to shift the battlefield to the global economy, until the human elements, the institutionalized contempt and vengeance-driven anger, are addressed. Technology will continue to be hijacked by the emotional mandate for punishment.